Anno 117 Pax Romana is a game where, just like the plethora of Anno games before it, have you build a sprawling empire full of complicated supply chains, elaborate cities, and interesting rivals who you like more than others for reasons.
Cities are a lot like livers.
When playing Anno 117, you generally start on your big island and expand to nearby smaller islands when you need newer resources that don't exist on your main island, so you can send them back in your fleet of trade ships. But what if you didn't do that? What if you attempted to beat Anno 117 on one island, and to make it even harder, a small, tiny island? In this video, I'm going to attempt to accomplish just that, and you might be going, Bose, how do you beat a sandbox city builder game like Anno 117? Doesn't the game just continue on forever? And, well, I mean, yes, you're right, but before we sit down and define how to win this game and this challenge, I want to give a big thank you to Ubisoft for sponsoring this video, as Anno 117 Pax Romana is available on November 13th on Steam, Epic, Ubisoft Connect, Xbox, and PlayStation. Thank you again, Ubisoft. Now on to the challenge. How do I beat Anno 117? That's a great question. The rules for this challenge are pretty simple. Since in the sandbox mode there is no signifier that goes, hey, you've beaten the game, congratulations. Instead, I'm going to take inspiration from a YouTuber by the name of 2K, who did this challenge in Anno 1800 and go by progression, which, big shout out to that YouTuber, by the way. That video inspired this one for 117. Go watch it, incredibly well edited, great video. The farthest that you can progress in Anno 117 Pax Romana is by building the amphitheater, the classic Anno monument building that requires a ton of resources and a ton of citizens to build it. If you've played previous Anno games, you should be no stranger to this, but if not, the monument is as it sounds, a big building that serves as a monument to your people that is very expensive in resources and lots of workers are required to build it. One of the biggest differences, however, say compared to the World's Fair in Anno 1800, is that the amphitheater is big. So big at 26 by 30 squares that it actually cannot fit on some of the tiny islands that I want to do this challenge on. Compare this to the World's Fair, which is only at 18 by 22. So there's step one right out the gate. Make sure I start on an island big enough to house the amphitheater, but small enough to be considered a tiny island, which brings us to step two. What is actually considered a tiny island? When you start an Anno game, the different map types generally have the same island sizes, regardless of the map type. 4 big ones for you and your rivals, a few medium-sized islands that are very similar to the main ones, just with a little bit smaller footprint and different resources, and then 3 to 4 tiny islands. These 3 to 4 islands at the end are what I'm going to be considering quote-unquote tiny islands. And an even better way to signify that these are tiny islands is that they generally do not have river sources on them. River sources are needed for quite a few different building and resource materials. Clay, bread, fish, gold, they all need a river source in order to harvest from them, just like the clay pit in Anno 1800. Funnily enough, when I started recording this challenge, I actually beat it pretty easily, but then I was on an island with 3 river sources on it. Even though it was a small island, I immediately started over to actually try without it. And that's really about it when it comes to the rules for this challenge. Find an island big enough to house the amphitheater, but small enough to be considered a tiny island. The only rules that I'm actually going to abide by outside of that are pretty simple. No settling on other islands just to get the resources I need, and no settling the second world of Albion in order to trade goods back to the main island. And hey, I've yapped quite a bit, so why don't I just actually play the game? And let's go through the setup. I've actually kept everything pretty standard default here. Okay, I know. His name is Biggest Discus, and you're going, oh, Bose, you're so funny. I didn't even make up the name. I don't know what's going on at Ubisoft mains, but their name generation is pretty diabolical. We've got, let's shuffle through here and see what we come up with. We've got Krampus Longus, Pupanius Cloaca, There and Back Again, Megaron, and I think my favorite, Raid Me Own Cow. I mean, we have to go with Biggest Discus, right? I feel like it's a no-brainer. I kept everything on default except for 2 specific settings. I have the entire map revealed so I can find an island that fits my criteria, and I don't start with a founded island so I can sail to that island and settle there. I've switched the Emperor mostly because I find her quests to be a bit more manageable in a one-island game. And as for rivals, I've kept the 2 default of Lysama and Dorian, but I've added my favorite, my gal pal, my waifu Zara. She is wonderful for reasons.
Cities are a lot like livers.
And we're off. This honestly took a couple rerolls to find, but after 20 or so tries, I was able to narrow down this crescent-shaped bay island, which has a few key ingredients that I'm looking for. Mackerel for my tier 2 food of garum, and flax and oysters for my tier 3 fashion of togas. These are necessary as I won't have the funds for regular trade of these, nor will the AI have them to trade until much later into the game. The island is also useful because it has 2 ports, one with being incredibly defensible if I do need to defend myself from raiders or another AI, but with it being on easy, I probably don't need to worry about that too much. Upon settling, I start my grid that I've actually found to be pretty efficient, a 4x2 plot of houses. This allows the initial tier, my Liberty, to start funneling in. With that 4x2 pattern, I've actually found that a 5x3 grid of these patterns can mostly be completely served by a single market and a pub. Additionally, 2 woodcutters should be enough for the time being. After the Liberty, there are 3 more tiers of residences that require their own needs in order to be unlocked. We have Tier 2, the plebeians, Tier 3, the equites, and Tier 4, the patricians. Oh, and speaking of, I've actually unlocked their needs by having high enough population of 20.
We simple folks, we don't have much to offer.
This gives me the 2 food needs in form of sardines and porridge, with the subsequent unlock of the public service needs, as I'd mentioned previously, the market and the pub. Each tier of residents has their own needs, with the next tier requiring both their new needs as well as the threshold of the previous one, and they go down as food, public services, fashion, household, marvels, and culture. As you'll notice here, it is actually a specific number in Anno 117 that you need to meet in order to meet that need, and each need has its own number assigned to it. For Liberty, their needs for food, fashion, and public services are pretty simple. It is 1 for each of them. And so in order to meet this need, they either need to have sardines or porridge for food. Since this is a tiny island, I want to save as much space as possible so there's no wasted room by building an oat farm as well as a porridge stand. So the sardine shack it is. For the fashion end of it, the Pileus would save some space because I'd only have to build sheep. There's some unlockable benefits with the tunics that I'd rather have as the game goes on. Additionally, hemp is a required resource for quite a few things, so it makes sense to build it.
Wherever I go, there are these girls waiting for me, and there seem to be more of them every time.
So upon building those and passing the time a little bit, I'm ready to upgrade to the next tier fairly quickly, the plebeians. Their food supply isn't too dissimilar to the Liberty, except both of them require a supply chain in order to build. This is where not having resources on the island makes this a much easier decision, as in order to build bread, you need to build a grain mill on a river source, but since I don't have those, I go the garum route. Garum requires a scomber shack for mackerels, a resource fertility that was needed in selecting the island, as well as a salt pond to be fed into a building called the Garum Works. It takes 1 minute and 30 seconds to build 1 unit of garum, and it takes 1 minute to harvest mackerel and 30 seconds to harvest salt, so I'll be building 2 scomber shacks and 1 salt pond, respectively. Garum Works have 2 types of area effects. That is an effect that applies to buildings within its range. Surrounding buildings gain +1 generated income, but also reduce each building's happiness by 2. Both the pub and the market do this as well as most buildings at the end of the supply chain that supply residences with their needs. The higher the tier you go, the more varied your supply chain building area effect becomes. Now, one thing to note that is helping quite a bit in this run are bonuses from the Hall of Fame. The Hall of Fame is an in-game meta progression that is completely free, and it does not cost you anything to acquire, but are met via accolades that you can achieve throughout the game. It's basically Anno 117's achievement system that gives you an in-game currency that you can unlock things like cosmetics for ships, buildings, new soundtracks, as well as what I'm going to utilize quite heavily here, specialists and starting supplies. By playing quite a bit and going through the Hall of Fame, I have been able to unlock each of the Hall of Fame specialists as well as the entry starting supplies that give me a big head start in this run. The specialists that I'm going to be using and will show today are Marypath, a captain that you can equip to your starting ship, Actorius Maximinus, a financier who gives markets in range an extra +1.5 income area effect, Trukutoto, I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that right, an economic specialist that gives you more workforce from residences, 150% to be exact, and it's Liberty residences. Judoc Daedalo, a military specialist, actually I won't be using him in this game, but you can unlock him, and Aaron's Spedius Fastus, a civic specialist who gives happiness and prestige to sandals and reed shoes if they are supplied. The starting materials that are unlocked start from tier 3 and include Roman Material Pack, which is gives you 50 timber, 40 tiles, and 30 concrete at the start of the game. Roman Goods Pax, which also gives you 40 sardines, 40 porridge, 40 tunics, and 40 pileus. And the Celtic Material Pack, 50 timber, 40 tiles, and 30 wattle and daub, which we don't use because we're not going to the other island. There's a lot more I've unlocked in the Hall of Fame, but as you can see, they're not really incredibly important and actually don't change anything in this run, as they're all mostly cosmetic. Back to the game. With the plebeians unlocked, the main building of the game, the villa, is now able to be placed. Think of the villa as a hyper trade union from Anno 1800, but that also counts as the core and center of your island. You're attacking an AI and want to take them over or completely eliminate them, you have to take the villa. And this is where you can also slot in specialists to give area effects in the radius. AKA, this is where I'm going to be putting those specialists I just mentioned. Adding in Trocototo is incredibly strong, as your workforce from your Liberty, the tier 1 residences, are increased by 150%. So I go from 38 Liberty to 80 just from slotting them in. Our income increases from 20-ish denarii to 100 from slotting in Actorius. We're not getting anything from errands at this point, but we will once we reach sandal production. After a few more upgrades to plebeians, the first section of public services are unlocked, the Sanctuary and the Grammaticus. The Sanctuary gives an area effect called Belief, and the Grammaticus gives you knowledge, which are used for religion and research respectively. As you can see, Zara really loves knowledge, so much that she's going to give me 10,000 denarii as a gift for focusing on it. Technologies are going to be pretty simple. Economic in the beginning by increasing my trading post and upgrading it. Research the spinner technology, which gives spinners the building for the tunic a knowledge area effect, this is what I had mentioned earlier, and an income area effect from fishing huts. Then I'll go down the civic tree to increase the range of markets and then work on some other buildings. For religion, taking Ceres here will be incredibly beneficial because even though I'm literally not building anything that she would give a boost to, the most important part is the bottom bonus, where all residences provide additional population. As your residents become more fanatical and faithful towards your preferred deity, you gain shrines, which will give bonuses based off of what those gods do, which in case of Ceres, gives you additional population in that shrine's area effect. This is a tiny island challenge. I'm going to need as much population as I can get. I need to start gaining favor with my rivals. This is a tiny island challenge, and I'm going to need to trade with them, so I start picking up contracts to, if you've ever played Anno before, you know this word, pick up all the flotsam. This gives me some gold, but more importantly, the more contracts I pick up from them, the more they start to like me. Shipyards are also now unlocked, and I'll need to start working on ships as soon as possible when I get enough supplies. Ropes require 1 hemp farm for 2 rope makers. Remember earlier I said hemp farms would be really important. And 1 sheep farm per sail makers. I'll get those going and start building ships when I can. But in the meantime, I've unlocked more needs for the plebeians, sandals and soap. Soap requires massive fields of lavender, so sandals it is. We need all the space we can get. The ratio to this supply chain of sandals is 1 pig farm and salt pond to 2 tanneries to 2 sandal makers per tannery. It's a lot simpler than the soap chain. Now that we have the plebeian needs set up, it's just time that I need for everything. So while I'm waiting, I'll run a few contracts and decorate the island with ornaments.
Look at those gays!
Yes, look at them, Dorian.
Trust me, you want olive oil. It keeps you healthy and competing.
Bro loves olive oil or something, I guess. There's a lot of these quick time events in the Anno experience. In this one, we are getting a gift, a new specialist, the twins. We choose between one that gives us income and one that gives us population. What did I say earlier? We need as much population as we can get. Brutus it is.
A worthy judgment.
Enough time has passed, and I built a civilian trade ship and I can start up a trade route. I desperately need tiles since I can't set up a clay supply chain for my tiler as I don't have any river resources, so I'll start one here with Diana, the liaison for the Roman Empire. That will keep tiles flowing me for a while as I'll need a lot of them this game. People love the god Ceres and want to run a festival. If I pay 2,000 denarii, I'll receive an income effect for bakeries, vintners, and breweries on the island. This actually is not going to give me anything because I'm not going to build any of those. It's only 2,000 denarii, and it's also, I kind of like to see it on the island, so we're just going to run it anyways. Another need is needed for the plebeians. They need amphorae, so let's set up another trade route here. That'll take care of the household needs for them.
Your city is impressive, but a little consideration for aesthetics.
Okay, Ben. Anywho, Ben. Some time has passed, Tier 3 residences have been unlocked, and the equites have arrived. Not quite as posh as the next tier, but pretty close to it. If I wanted to, I am now allowed to travel to the second world of Albion, but there's no need to because this is a one tiny island only game. Equites require wine and cheese for their food needs, but cheese requires a supply chain from Albion, so wine it is. But I don't have room to afford big grape fields, nor do I have the fertility for it, so here I come again, Diana, to import from you. For public services, however, they need either an aqueduct or a theater for their needs to be met, and I need a lot, and I mean a lot of concrete in this run, so getting the concrete chain is required fairly early on before I can even think about getting either of those. Concrete mixers take 1 minute and 30 seconds to create concrete, so the quarry takes 30 seconds and refineries take 45 seconds, so I'll make 2 concrete mixers for a refinery and have a little limestone left over for bulk. Even though I don't have all the materials, I can plan out my aqueduct now, and this is the main reason why I left that weird one tile space in the middle of my residences, so I could snake it along the city. This is going to be incredibly useful to me later. Hey, you want a treaty? Oh, no treaty? Okay, how about some denarii? How about now? Yeah. Yeah. Thanks, buddy. That's more like it. I'll use him as a trade source for amphorae and tiles later on. What about Zara? No, she's a bit more tough. I'll give her a gift, but I think I need a larger navy and more knowledge to impress her.
I don't know what to say.
Oh, perfect. The aqueduct is finished. Let's go ahead and start planning it out. I'm going to put it, I guess this one's technically higher. The higher the, well, aqueducts can't flow uphill, so the higher you place them, the better it is. Let's go ahead and snake it through the city. Isiama follows suit with a trade agreement, and while I will build an aqueduct, it requires a lot of concrete to do so the theater will have to do for now. The aqueduct is required for a bunch of services later. However, the theater does give +3 happiness, knowledge, and prestige as an area effect in the theater's radius, so it is actually really nice to have. I mean, I also do need it to upgrade my equites, but such is life. Okay, Dorian, I need you to relax a little bit. All I've done is build a theater. Our money is starting to run a little low. Nothing too egregious, but I think it's time to start actually pumping out ships to sell to Diana. The liaison to Rome will take this ship for roughly 6,800 denarii. You know, not too shabby for a simple pentaconter. This will be a main income for a while, pumping out ships and selling them for most of the game. While I wait for my equites needs to be met, I work on making sure island needs are being taken care of, like placing down buildings that fight fires, heal the sick, take out riots when needed. What is that? What is that? Huh. Oh, okay. Well, that took a little while. I built an aqueduct, I have a small navy, and I've done a ton of contracts for Zara, not to include a lot of bribes. And now we have a nice trade treaty with her. She's going to be my main trade partner, as she is a medium difficulty rival and will have a lot of the necessary goods to buy that I cannot make on my own on this island, such as marble or writing tablets for the equites needs. And I did something that she's going to give me a gift for. I think it's being peaceful with other rivals. Sure, whatever, I'll take it. Oh, Diana wants something. Oh, okay. Oh, no. Actually, this letter quest is incredible for me. She gives something like 50 or 60,000 denarii after completing this quest, and all I have to do is take out a couple of ships for her, which is great because, hey, I just built this small navy. I've been chasing ships around for Diana and taking them out, but in the meantime, I've received enough belief to unlock shrines. I had mentioned this earlier, but they give an area effect based off of the god that you choose, whereas Ceres gives you +1 population and +1 health to surrounding buildings. Other ones give you different ones. For example, Mars gives you less maintenance for your units. There's ones that give you extra knowledge, so on and so forth. However, I can only place 5 of them at a time for this time being. You can increase that as your devotion milestones are met. You can get more shrines to place them, but for now, I only can place 5.
Cities are a lot like livers. You get gates and junctions, wings and rivers. And there's also the bitter part.
That's... Thank you for that, Zara. Anywho. Boats are taken out. Diana's other friend has been rescued. And that's 50k denarii in the bank, or pockets, or wherever it's kept. This is fantastic because I have enough money as well as the resources for the final need of the Equites, the Marvels. I can place either a bathhouse or a forum. Both of them require an aqueduct, and as much as I want the forum for the prestige, the baths make much more sense as it gives me +2 population area effect for building in its radius, which is a pretty large radius, and as stated earlier, I need the population. With that placed down and a little time for it to fill, Equites needs are met, and it's onto the final tier of residences in Anno 117, the Patricians.
The water flows and you dictate its path. It is clever and essential. We share an interest.
Wow, unrest right out the gate, huh? Remember, it's about the plebeians versus the patrician. Class struggle is among us. Oh. Tier 4 has been unlocked, the patricians. Whilst the Equites had 5 needs to be met, the Patrician has more, but hey, guess what? I actually don't care about what they need, because the amphitheater is unlocked immediately when you get to the Patricians, and that is the end goal. As you can see, it's big. Very big. Finding space for it amongst the residences, bath, theater, aqueduct, all the supply chains, it's very difficult, so I think I'm going to spend some time restructuring the island here. It was going to happen eventually, but I got rid of the majority of my supply chains as, 1, I no longer have room for them, and B, I can get the majority of my goods now via trade and my trading post, so long sheep and thanks for all the fish. In order to construct the amphitheater, I needed 75,000 denarii, 100 wood, 60 concrete, which I have. But on top of it, starting the phase of the construction, I need another 150 wood, 300 concrete, 150 ropes, and something that I don't have are 350 liberty in my workforce to start construction on phase 2, the foundation itself.
There is always a margin for
Oh, Zara, you're not starting to like me? She thinks I'm dumb? Okay, well, I guess before working on the amphitheater, I can build the public service from the patricians, the library, which gives +7 knowledge of buildings in its radius. It's pretty strong. There, not so me dumb now, am I, Zara, huh?
reason prevails.
In order to reach that 350 workforce threshold for the Liberty, I need to do some shenanigans. And that includes forcing a bunch of plebeians to become Liberty, but it's okay. I'm giving them a specialist who gives +150% to the Liberty workforce. That by itself isn't enough. So it's time to force some more poverty on everyone else. You? Maybe you? And you? Ah, there we go. 372 Liberty, just enough to work on the amphitheater and keep my city running. This is going to take 30 minutes of runtime, and that doesn't include stoppages if I run out of materials. So, as I stated before, let's keep selling ships and running errands with my rivals. There's a lot going on in the background of this video that you're not seeing, such as managing my trade routes, making sure they're working, even though the goods are full, As stated before, building boats and selling them, running contracts for all the rival governors, and including things like making sure that there's specialists at Diana's to see if they're good enough to put in my officium or my villa. And just like that, I ran out of materials. What? Oh, concrete. Okay, well, I mean, the only thing I have to do is wait, so it's a good thing I have time. 30 minutes later, Phase 2 is complete, and my surplus of Liberty workforce are back into the island. Phase 3 is similar to... as I was saying, Phase 3 is similar to Phase 2. I will need 150 concrete, 300 tiles, 300 marble, 150 rope, and 200 plebeians to construct the outer walls of the amphitheater. But not only do I need that, I am required to have 750 patricians in my entire empire just to begin construction. Time to get messing with my residences again. Up you go. Up you go. Ooh. Actually, don't have enough needs met on my equites in order to upgrade them. I need more. Some more trade routes it is. That is a very fast oh. Another Diana quest. Okay, well that's fine. I mean, I like money, so hopefully it's worth it. Where is the ship that I need to take? Oh, okay, it's literally right next to my flagship, and that was easy peasy. 30k denarii. Well, you know what? I'm not too mad about that. These equites are just about eligible to upgrade, and there's a bunch more. Now, is that no, still not enough? Okay. Well, let's get some more resources, more trades. How about now? There we go. Let's do some mass upgrading. And I unlocked the patrician fashion needs, so I think that is a sign. Hey, it is. I need to manage some residences real quick, downgrade these patricians to equites, equites to plebeians. And there's 200 of them, so they're ready to haul some marble. Once again, Phase 3 also takes 30 minutes of in-game time, so I'll continue doing what I've been doing all game. Rival contracts and selling ships. 30 minutes actually went by pretty fast, and this was a little bit easier than before, which makes sense because I'm consistently importing every good that I need through my rivals and via the Empire. My economy is held up by a single shipyard. For the final phase, Phase 4, I'll need 300 tiles, 300 marble, 300 mosaic tiles, 300 concrete, 60 gold, and 150 equites as the workforce. Oh, and 2,250 patricians as a base requirement in order to even unlock the construction in the first place. I'm definitely not going to have enough upgrades into patricians, so I think it's time to completely destroy everything in my island that aren't residences and place down a ton of them. Get all the needs for these equites by building a second aqueduct. And yeah, that was exactly what I needed to do. And whilst I was doing that, I actually realized that I don't have to rely on trade routes themselves with my ships. I can request basically any material that I want via the trading post. Literally anything in Latium that I need, I can get. So if someone wants to do this in the future, you can just get your materials completely imported to you, and you can make the island even tinier. The more you know, I guess. After moving residences around, giving everyone their needs, building a second aqueduct, it's time to upgrade all of these equites to patricians and... God, how do I talk? And start Phase 4. Balance the residences, and another 30 minutes of game time. You know the drill. There she is. The amphitheater. in all its glory. Okay. Dorian, what did I say? You need to calm down, buddy. I get it. You like to compete. You love oil. You just want each other to pour oil. Sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself. This was a long-awaited construction period of building the grand monument of Anno 117, the amphitheater, but that's not even the longest part yet. There are 3 levels of events, games, that you can run inside the amphitheater, each with their own unique bonuses and area effects that they give you. In order to consider this a complete progression run, I'm calling running the 3rd level of games, the Great Nemachia, 3 times as to get the Fame level 9 as completing the progression. This level requires 100 patricians as a workforce, 100,000 denarii, 30 minutes of preparation time, an aqueduct connection is needed, resources chosen randomly from all the bases of needs and buildings. And the hardest part of them all, it takes 2 hours of in-game time for the event to complete 100% all of the way. And lucky for us, the first preparation of this event requires wine, rope, and amphorae, which I have copious amounts of them from trading, albeit I don't think I have 200 wine, but we'll live. Now, you don't have to have those exact amounts to start the games, just the more you have, the better the area effect you'll get from the bonuses. That's a lot of boats. It's time to let it run. The first games have finished. Next level, Fame 8, is a go. This time it's bird tongues, rope, and amphorae. So once again, not too difficult. I just need to import a ton of bird tongues. Never thought I'd say that sentence out loud. While this runs, I'm going to start decorating my island a bit more because it's looking a little drab and Ben has given me a complex.
Your city is impressive, but a little consideration for aesthetics wouldn't go amiss.
This is going to be me for the next 2 hours of the game. The games have finished again, and now we're on the final Great Nemachia for Fame level 9. Nearly the same resources required, which is great for me because it makes it a lot easier. Let's run it and...
I kissed a boy in my cabin once. He wasn't very good at it. Ate half my face.
Okay, thanks, Diana. I'll continue sprucing up the island. This is honestly the weirdest way that I've ever ended a challenge before, I think, because those words from Ben have been ringing in my ears since the beginning of the island.
The games have ended.
And there you have it. All 3 phases of the 3rd level of the games have been completed, and that answers the question that I know all of you were thinking. Can you beat Anno 117 Pax Romana on one singular tiny island? And the answer is yes. Yes, you can. Hey, you can even do it on a tiny one. I actually did this after the fact. This was a really fun challenge to play. I honestly love the Anno games, and I'm not just saying that because this video is sponsored. City builders and supply chain games are right up my alley, and doing challenges based off of them get me excited to make videos. Please let me know down below in the comments if you'd love to see more of these videos in the future. I love the Anno series. I love doing challenge games, and so I just would love to continue making videos like this. And also just let me know who is your favorite rival, and please tell me it's Zara. Once again, thank you Ubisoft for sponsoring this video. Anno 117 Pax Romana is out on November 13th. You can find the links in the description below to get the game. Thank you for watching, everyone. This was a fun video to make. I really, really enjoy this game, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye. Bye-bye now.